Glenn Parker, High Vibration Foundation. How are you doing today? I wanted to talk about finding a more heart-centered portion of yourself where your heart and your mind are working as one, and so that the mind doesn't have to think it's in charge anymore and think that it needs to do everything and fight and claw and scratch and make your way through this world, where really your heart is the center of your being. It is the expression of your higher self and the other aspects of the multidimensional self coming through. And when you can get more in tune to your heart center, you let the mind follow the heart, and through synchronicity and following your highest excitement, everything just flows, and it's an ecstatic explosion of synchronicity. That sounds good. How do we do that? Well, it's like a Satori. It's like anything in your life or anyone else's life. There's no one way. There's no one way. It is all different for each person. However, there are some obvious ways. What you do is you just keep sampling and trying different things, different permission slips from different people until you find one that works for you. It comes down to being quite simple. There is one exercise that I just had paid and downloaded from Daniel Scranton, from the founders, and it was an exercise to be more heart-centered, effectively to eliminate fear and anxiety, and to create a more unified being. And there's some exercises in there that I found very useful and very peaceful. I just grabbed this a couple days ago, and it's like 11 minutes long, and there's a lot of really nice information in there. But there's one critical exercise, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to his page where you can purchase this, because I think it is an extraordinarily useful tool. It is where you can imagine breathing in some of your mental energy into your heart center, and basically pulling in the fear and the doubt and whatever else might be getting in the way, and pulling it into your heart center, into the portion of yourself that is multidimensional, and also giving the portion of yourself that is stressing and is experiencing difficulty, the idea of difficulty and the idea of lack, is to give that portion of yourself unconditional love. And when you're having trouble with other people and difficulties with other people, to send them a beam of unconditional love. And there's some setups to how to do this, but those are effectively the tools that were derived from those. From that particular exercise, there's exercises from Bashar, the transformative shifting. There's exercises from Abraham-Hicks, that has to get into the vortex, just another way to say it, to let go of more things and to let go of more things and to be more heart-centered. And everything is really, all those permission slips are, to try to reel you in, to try to get you so that you are more heart-centered, and that you let go of more of the what would be called the rational mind's expectations of things, because it has too much of a burden on it. It wasn't designed to do what it's doing, and that's why the monkey world exists, and wars and all the stuff, and greed. The more reptilian part of the brain, is like, if I think I have to do everything and it's only me, for me, by me, then I need to get as much as possible and keep as much as possible, however possible it is, whatever I need to do that. And that obviously, little white lie, little white lie, little white lie, once it's done 100 times, once it gets to the last person, it starts to become epic, though it's not the individual large crazy lies, the ones that really cause large disruptions. It's these little tiny lies the ego has to do to quantify whatever it is doing, so that it can keep as much as possible, because it thinks it's in it, that it's going this alone. And the net result is that the world ends up not working, and people starve and are unhappy, and all these things start to happen. So there's various permission slips, sending yourself unconditional love. There's things from Eckhart Tolle. I do like Gary Renard's. He has a saying, well, I'm a mortal spirit. This body is just an image. It has nothing to do with what I really am. I found to be quite peaceful and loving because it does address all sides of the coin. It addresses your physicality. It addresses if there is something more. And now we're knowing what that is, that there is something more to you, and that you're addressing the multidimensional aspects of you in this saying. So there's a number of ways to do it. Buddhism has ways to do it. There's a chanting Buddhist where, you can chant for as long as you can chant. I had a friend that lived close to a chanting Buddhist, and we would go over there and hang out. And for almost a 45-minute duration, this chanting Buddhist would chant. And it was inspirational to have that kind of dedication to that kind of process. Literally chanting, and this person was, on the next street over on an upstairs building inside, and you could hear it inside this other building toward the front of another street inside an apartment complex. And I was like, that's just amazing that this person can keep that up. So there's another permission slip to getting more heart-centered and a form of meditation. All these suggestions like the transformative shifting and things like this, these are forms of meditation. They do have an outcome. Transformative shifting is really tickling the part of your brain that has the ability to go toward multiple dimensional states, going from one dimensional state to another. So there's tons of different ways to get this done. I'm just trying to address the issue of recognizing, putting an interrupt in place. In NLP, there's things called interrupts, where you start to, recognize that you're on a particular pattern, and these interrupts are there. So when you recognize you are on a pattern, like if you're angry at somebody, to stop yourself, and whether it's through symbology or just recognizing where you are, taking a deep breath and recognizing where you are, and then addressing the issue with whatever tools work best for you, whatever permission slips work best for you. And these tools are various tools. You can go back to Eckhart Tolle, you can go to Gary Renard, you can go to Bashar's tools, you can go to the tools from the founders, the ones that have just been brought forth. So there's tons of different ways to address it. But the interrupt is important to be able to recognize where you're at so that you don't go through an anger process and you don't go through a pattern, because basically fear, anxiety, no one is born into the society as a baby with fear or anxiety, It's learned, it's a behavioral pattern, and the interrupts are meant to stop that. And I could go over interrupts, I'll do that in a different video, because it is a very detailed process. It's basically symbology. If you recognize that, instead of letting yourself go through an anger process, it's just interrupting yourself and recognizing it. But when you interrupt it, you need to have a process that you can go through, a permission slip, to be able to pull you back into a more loving state, like recognizing the other person is another immortal being that came with a whole bunch of your friends, and particularly to experience you and to each other. You and this other person is putting a challenge there for each other so that you can learn from it and have the possibility to move on from it and have a lot more interesting things come from your life. So if this person is making you angry, for instance, and they're pushing your buttons, or they cut you off, or they smell like someone that you grew up with that wasn't nice to you, whoever that happened to be, they're wearing a particular type of perfume, someone that did something to you that you weren't very happy about. Whatever trigger it is to interrupt the process and recognize that you're angry, and then go through your process, whatever it is, permission slip, to be able to put yourself into a more loving state and recognizing that person. What I've been doing lately is concentrating more and more and more on a couple particular things. That I am multidimensional, that this is just a very singular aspect of me. This is just one fractal of me, that there's a lot more of me, that I am eternal, that there is only now, there is only one moment, there is only one thing in creation, all of it, And I am an aspect of all these things. All these things are me, and I am all these things. And I hold as much of these types of ideas in each moment as possible. So somebody walks by, I will send them unconditional love. If they're rude, I'll still send them unconditional love. If they say excuse me, I'll still send them unconditional love. Because I now recognize that they are another aspect of me, of infinite creation. They're friends, eternal family that came on this journey, that came to this planet to experience more things, to learn and to grow, and to do things that had never been done before, to go from great darkness to go into great light. And also recognize that someone else you run into might be you, literally your larger consciousness as a seventh density being, as your oversoul, has millions, billions of fractals in it, in Earth and in other realities. Very likely millions in the Earth plane. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions, who knows? But there is this distinct possibility that this other person that you're interacting with is you. Because the you that you are now is a unique soul, a unique spirit. But the you that you really are as a unique being is the oversoul. And you could be interacting with another fractal of yourself. So another fractal of yourself you've run into, why wouldn't you want to give yourself unconditional love? And why wouldn't you want to give anything and anyone and everything unconditional love? Because you are now recognizing this by listening to me and coming to an understanding that you are multidimensional, that you are forever, that all that is basically you're a unique aspect of all that is. So not only is all that is and all things that are part of all that is, since you are a unique aspect of all that is, it is also you. So it is you and you're it. Everything is one. And there's differentiation in frequency to all different things. The rocks, the wall, the background here, the towel that's hanging on this door, me, you, the camera that I'm using to tape this, which is my phone. Everything has a unique differentiated frequency to it, particularly in the conscious states of, human beings and animals and rocks. But everything has consciousness, and especially down into the molecular level as lower density beings. And it's all equal. So keeping in mind that everything is equal, because it is one thing, you are part of the one thing, it is all equal, is something else you can hold in the moment to be able to calm yourself and to recognize. And everything that I've talked about is also has another, I don't want to call it an agenda, but it has another purpose. We're coming up on a time where we're going to become a lot more self-aware of these types of things in every single moment, where you're going to recognize that there's going to be an awakening, a mass awakening, that you're going to recognize that you are an infinite being in an immortal and an eternal reality, physicalized on planet Earth. And this will take some adjusting to, so the more you can adjust to it now, the more of service we can be to those that are going to come to it later on. And so you're basically doing integration with every moment you take to recognize that you are eternal, to recognize that you are a unique aspect of all that is, but you are also all things of all that is. You have direct access to everything because everything is one thing. It is the one experiencing itself as different things. And you're going to come really seriously conscious of this soon. 2016, 2017, something to that effect. There's going to be a large awakening to this fact. Some information next year will be disclosed, which will lend and lead more into this. So those of us that have been gleaming this information a lot earlier, I've only been exposed to it almost for the last couple of years, but I really latched onto it. Will be here to be of service to others that will have questions for this process, who want to go into this true fourth density state, into a more peaceful state into more of a non-linear state where you don't have to experience things from A to B. You can skip over steps where time and spaces become space-time in effect. And I think that's the effectively what I wanted to share. I kind of bounced around a little bit, but it's all effective to the same idea of integrating yourself. You want to integrate yourself. And integrating yourself means more recognition of who and what you are and who and what other people are, so that when you come into a circumstance that might have angered you in the past, it no longer angers you because it isn't quite as relevant as it used to be. It is, you now recognize it for what it is, the challenge that you put there for yourself, and now it can evaporate and disappear and you can move on to more interesting things. So I hope that was helpful. Life coaching, spiritual coaching, business coaching. If you ever have any questions, I'm more than happy to sit on the phone for an hour and answer any questions that you might have on any kind of topic, whatever you want to talk about. Glenn likes to talk about anything and everything, so whatever you want to talk about. I just had some recent conversations for twin souls and twin flames and things of that nature, and I had other conversations that spun into starting a business for someone, and it's quite lovely to be able to be of assistance and to apply the knowledge that I've had over my lifetime to these types of things. Thank you very much. Love and light, and have a fantastic day.